Hey guys, this is V Man from No Budget Productions. On the Pizza Roll Diaries, with me today is go ahead and introduce yourself and show all these wonderful people who you are.
Hi, I'm Michelle Wells, also known as Michael Herbert on Facebook, and I enjoy cosplay. And I have been introduced to a little bit of filming and acting with Vance, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Right on, right on. Well, I am pleased to have you. You we met for the first time in Vegas, and I was blown away by your cosplay because I've seen it. A huge fan because it's one of those things that I couldn't do it. I mean, I could barely put on zit cream as a kid without overdoing it and just looking like what is this but you guys master of what you guys do. It's one of those things that you guys do this. You go to convention after convention after convention, and it's one of those things that I could never do it. I mean, you see the antenna, and it's just like, what? How do you do that? But I mean, you guys go all in, and it's one of those things that we'll talk about that in 1 second. Let me introduce the people in the chat, or at least welcome them, and then we'll talk about your cosplay. But that it's one of those things that if they've seen your picture, they may not recognize you here, but I'm sure they've probably seen an Andorian or just your many cosplay stuff. Your Vulcan, Romulan, like you've kind of done it all. We'll tiptoe
Sure,
into that.
working on
Yeah,
it. Yes.
right, right. So in the chat we have Matthew Bracy, who says, "Hi Vance." Well, hi, how you doing? He
Hi,
says first.
Matthew.
You are first. You are first in the chat. Welcome, Matthew. We have Zam, who says, "I am here."
Hey, Zam.
He says, "Good evening." He's across the world right now, so it's for him. It's in the evening there. So hey, Zam. Matt says, "Hey, Zam." And then here's an important message. I posted this in the chat, and it's in the link for the YouTube. We are only 14 subscribers away from 1,000 on the NerdTube channel. So I posted I posted the link. Click on over there, everybody. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this on the rewind, please click over and subscribe to their YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure that we can hit that 14 by the end of the day. They're the greatest YouTube channel that you've never heard of. They do it all. They do movie reviews. They do YouTube trailer, or they do movie trailer reviews. They do gaming stuff. They do it all. Click over there. They talk about comics. They talk about shows like Titans. They talk about regular movie stuff that's not comic book related. They talk about wrestling. They talk about just everything and anything geek related, stuff that's not geek related. Yeah. Zam says they did an Indiana Jones unboxing today. Yeah, they do everything. Zam says, "Hello, Michelle. Hello, Vance. What's up,
Hi,
Zam?
Zam.
It's good to have you here, man." But they do everything, and they've become a great friend of the channel. If you've watched, if you've watched this channel, you've obviously seen Cousin Cheeto. You've seen Zam. It's not uncommon for us to jump over to their channel and be on there. See me or see Frank on something, or Steve. It's not uncommon for them. You to see them on our channel. They're a great. They're a great friend of this channel, and they're only 14 away from 1,000. Let's help them get there, because 14 is not a lot. Let's help them out. So, but Zam says I got a wrestling show in an hour. So as soon as we're done here, hop on over there, watch the wrestling show. Give them a sub, give them a thumbs up. Show some support. So, but. Yeah, he was playing golf on the channel earlier today on this channel. So see what I missed. So where was I? Oh my goodness! See, that's how interconnected we are. But speaking of interconnected, Michelle. So
Yes.
you've done a few films for me.
Yeah.
you've played you played a member of the network.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know if it's a few or is it two, but yes, and it's been an absolute joy.
yeah, yeah. You. I think it was two. I think it
Yeah.
was two. You played. Uh, you played the
The,
the
the
wife
wife of
yeah,
Minot, is
of
that right?
Eobard Menard. Yeah,
Bernard. Yep.
Eric's son. Yeah. So you got started from me. I needed someone to who had the next generation season one uniform, which you had that, and I was like, yes, because it's always easy to for people to say, well, let's allude to this, but to me, I really wanted someone who no, let's see that uniform because me, I'm a uniform guy. Anyone that knows me knows let's see that uniform, and you had that, so I was like, awesome. And then I saw what you were able to bring to the acting. You were in character. It's a very short role, but you stayed in character, and I fell in love with what you brought.
Oh, thank
And then,
you.
well, you were very charming. You were great. Um, and then I was like, I was looking through your pictures, and I think it was a Vulcan that I saw.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was what's that now?
No, I was going to say, and I think you asked me to play. Oh, I can't remember if she was a Vulcan or a Romulan, but I had pointy ears.
Yeah, yeah. She was a Romulan because it was the star had blown up, and that was you were basically giving forgiveness to the main character, the captain. Because he felt responsible for the Romulan star being blown up, and that was to me that was like a lot of the role had basically was on your shoulders for that role. Um, and when I got back the footage, oh, it was wonderfully done. Um, it as a cosplayer, um, you kind of had liberty to do your own thing for that. I kind of had the I kind of had the hey, can you do red and yellow? Because that was Eobard's thing, and I really wanted to be connected to Eobard. So I wanted his influence to be in that character since we wouldn't see him, but I wanted to be Romulan design esque. But what can you tell me about when you started creating the role of I think I think Lucy is what made her name. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
Lucy.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, dude, I'm terrible on my own names on stuff. So I'm just like, oh, that one film, that one time on the. What was it like when I came to you and approached you about the project, and then creating and crafting that character, and then following through with going on it?
Sure. Well, first of all, I was honored that you had approached me, and it's interesting to me that over, I'd say, I don't know, the last 6 months or a year, I have some other friends that do a little bit of filming here and there, and they've asked for, little green screen clips, and probably one of the biggest parts leading up to me playing the role of Lucy was simply, getting a green screen, figuring out how to easily hang it up in my house, getting the lighting, a little bit of that stuff. As far as the costuming, uh, I have either a lot of things in house, and I get things either from thrift stores, very inexpensive things from YouTube, and other things. I think I already had. Oh, that one I used my natural hair, but I had the ears, and when I put the makeup on, I take a lot of photos because I just need it to look good on screen. If you were to look at me up close in person, it might look a little flawed, and it might look a little flawed on screen. But I'm doing as best as I can as not being a professional makeup artist. But one thing I noticed when I started cosplaying, and especially as I started cosplaying in groups, it sort of naturally leads you towards some form of acting or theater. Because when we start performing in a group, sometimes we choose poses, we choose positions, we choose personas, and we're carrying that persona as we're walking through the halls in at conventions. And that started happening in groups, which was really interesting. And for me, I found sort of a freedom and a means of creativity, expressing my creativity in that process. So when you offered me that role, one thing I was very taken aback by her role and how actually more Vulcan than Romulan she was, in that she was so forgiving. And she'd obviously gone through this terrible loss. And yet she had so much empathy. And I kept thinking, how do, apart from just rotely speaking the role, which I still feel like I'm a little bit rote, how do I don't know, become her? And how do I think in terms? And that's really the hardest part. Once I understand how she's communicating, then I don't know, just I'd like to think it just sort of comes out on camera. But I really put a lot of thought into who am I talking to, what am I feeling, and not only what can I do to emote or use my voice. I think I have a pretty flat voice, but I was working on a set on another show recently, and the actor said, it's movies. You have to move around. So when you see all my hand movements and the head turns and this and that, it's so that I'm just not staring at a camera and talking like a newscaster. So
Right.
I do try to make those subtle. I mean, sometimes I shoot something several times before I actually send you what I think is halfway decent because I'm making all those adjustments along the way. Did I answer or over answer your question?
No, it's a wonderful insight into acting. No, I do the same way. If you notice, like especially on my films, like whenever Menard speaks, and I encourage anyone, when you watch a Menard scene, I do this an awful lot. Like I'll say something and then I'll kind of pause, I'll kind of look off screen, and then I'll just flash my eyes, like look up, and then I'll kind of go back and talk. Like I do that an awful lot, and the reason why I do that, it's kind of like the equivalent of uh, like William Shatner's pauses. It's his way of acting, and that's because when you're kind of locked into like this frame, you only have so much to do, and you can't when you're locked into like the what's been dubbed as Menard's Vance's Combox movies. Like you can't really put your hands here, like so you have to emote with what you have. And that's what you're talking about is exactly what you're using you're using what you have available to you, and you're trying to give some type of performance in what could easily be a wooden performance. And that's the thing when you did Lucy, it I think part of the charm uh, was your personality shown through, absolutely, in that role. You as a person, the flavor, per se, of the person came through the character. Um, One of the things that I wanted for the character was to show that, um, she understood her husband had this, much like his father, had this destiny, and she understood I can't go with him. He's moved on to something else, and he's helped me. I could have been a bitter person, but I'm not because my husband, and now he's moved to something else, and I have to help this guy understand this. So it really came through, that I'm at peace now, and now I have to help this guy get at peace too. And you had that chemistry there perfectly for that part. It really, it could have come across very wooden, or too Vulcan-esque for a Romulan, but to me, I felt like it was that perfect piece. You know.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful to hear because I was very nervous. This is all still very new to me, but oh goodness, there's something so freeing about doing so, I have an office job. I do a
Mhm.
lot of paperwork. It's pretty boring, really. I'm grateful to have that job. So to have this other way of expressing myself, to play with costumes, which by the way, if at any point I can tell you how I started cosplay and how old I was when I technically started cosplay, it's just been an evolution of my childhood. I'm just still 12 years old.
No, I get you. It's the same way with me. I'm still that kid, playing on his grandma's wrench, with his little chicken nugget phaser that he turned over and drew a phaser on, and so it's the toys might have evolved slightly, but we're still those kids. No, it's uh,
Absolutely.
so let me go through some of the chat here, and then we'll get back to, because I'm deeply interested in how exactly you started out. Hold on just one second. So Zamet said he had played golf earlier. Matthew Bracey said, I don't know how to play a game on the channel. So Zam says season one uniform is so figure hugging. No, it really is. If you've seen me in my season one uniform, uh, it's so uncomfortable. I actually have it unzipped, and you see the shirt underneath because I'm like, nope, I am not going to let my love handles plop all out there. I look more like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, cosplaying in Star Trek. I'm like, I'm not, no. So I don't allow that to happen. It is figure huggy to say the least. Yeah, no. Um, Matthew Brace says, I'd like to have a movie 2 through 4 uniform. Those uniforms are great. It's easy. You can buy one of those uniforms for about $80, maybe 100. They don't look the best, but for what you're paying for, they're great. Unless you're looking for something that looks super authentic, I mean, and then you can spend easily $500, $1,000. And those are like the Avanos, I think is what they're called.
Novos, which is
Yeah,
now de novo.
yeah, yeah. My personal opinion, and again, I could get crucified for this online, so anyone who disagrees with me, forgive me. I would never spend any type of money like that because that's for me. I'd rather go, buy groceries, several months of rent, for that. To me, I'd go buy one of the $80 ones and just go have fun. Because when you're in that uniform, you feel just as good. To me, it's no different. Buying a nine, a 50-cent pack of hot dogs is no different than buying a $3 pair, pack of hot dogs. It's, if you're hungry, you're hungry. So buy what's comfortable in your budget, but you can go on eBay and buy an $80 Wrath of Khan uniform, that fits, just fine, unless you really want it to be authentic, and then you're going to be spending that money. Um,
Yeah, I'd love to
so
add something to that.
sure, absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt. I
No,
don't know how to do
no,
the
you're
cue.
no, you're no. This is your show too. No, absolutely. Go ahead.
I have a friend who cosplays, and she does. I don't remember specifically what it's called, but it's the Thrift Cosplay page in Facebook. And she created a Monster Maroon from a red sweatshirt, a glue gun, and some black trim in pieces, and white trim, and it looks amazing. And I think one thing we should all consider is, yeah, sure, an Anovo's costume may look great. Uh, some of those are $1,000 easily. I have the one made in China that, as you said, maybe $80. If you can, and get it fitted at a seamstress or a tailor or yourself, that can really make it look good. I'm only looking for things to look good on camera. I don't, sure, if I stood next to somebody with a Novos, you'd see that it's some kind of gabardine wool, and
Yeah,
mine's not. But on camera, they look, in my mind, good enough. And frankly,
yeah.
if you're doing it in a sweatshirt, when I was a kid making my Luke Skywalker Tatooine outfit, wrapping swaths of cloth around my legs to look like the boots, and a kind of a wraparound jacket, painter's pants. Uh, who cares? As long as you feel good in it.
Well, and that's exactly it. And I think a lot of times with cosplay, or at least I know with me filmmaking, a lot of times you have to stop at the good enough. Because it's one of those things where um you can nitpick to the point where it's never good enough. And you don't have to be smart to give away your money. You can spend that $1,000, but at the end of the day, what's the point? If you can go buy 10 different uniforms with $80 a pop, man, you've got 10 different uniforms. And the Wrath of Khan uniform may not look as picture perfect, but you get the Star Trek Picard uniforms, man, you can't tell the difference between that one and what's on screen, or like the First Contact uniforms. I think the only difference between that and what's on screen is like maybe there's a slight variation of the gray material, like maybe a pigment of the color, and up until someone pointed it out to me, I couldn't tell a difference. I was like, man, this is perfect, and ultimately, at the end of the day, until someone points something out, they're fine. So I mean, you don't have to be smart to give your money away. At the end of the day, do what's best for you, but like she said, it's good enough. And it's absolutely right. You know, I would recommend to anybody, spend the $80, save your money, and go take yourself out to dinner with someone you enjoy spending conversation with, and both of you wear a uniform. How cool would that be? You know. Um, so Zam says, Matt and I are using Stadia, and I share the screen on StreamYard. It's an easy way to stream games. The other way is OBS, which is free software, but you have to learn to use it. No, and that's exactly it. They are much smarter than I am, and they share movies, they share game stuff. It's a way to share screens. Frank does it. That's one reason why when we do Critical Not Cynical, he can share the screen. I can't. Like, I don't know how to do that because I only use my phone when I do StreamYard. It's very easy once you know how to do it, but you have to have the software. You have to know how to do that type of stuff. Matt says, yeah, I got to learn it. Yeah, it's not that difficult. Like I said, I don't know how to do it. Let's see. Zam says, this is so cool to see someone who knows how to make costumes.
Wow.
You are cool. You are
Well,
cool.
thank you. I don't know if I make them as much as I assemble them, but I think I am going to be working towards. I have purchased a sewing machine. I believe I'll be working towards making parts of them on my own. And there are some that I have assembled and sewn, sort of, I don't know, patchworked from other either outfits or pieces of fabric. And you know, I just kind of make it fun. I cannot think of the character from Star Trek, but it was the episode where they're trapped on a planet and Abraham Lincoln's there, and there's this crazy lady with wearing furs. And I had found in a thrift store somebody's Halloween teddy bear costume. I kind of cut that up, and then I had other fabrics that I threw on with it, and I kind of looked like the caveman that she was, and I made my hair 80s big and spray painted it black and white. So some of the stuff I do put together from various pieces, not unlike Sally Seagrave's thrift cosplay page.
She's genius on what she does.
And she's such a sweetheart too. But what she creates is pretty amazing. And I think because some people, when they come into cosplay, they can feel intimidated. I went to my first Star Trek convention in 2013, and I thought I was just cool because I bought a Novos original series scan. And I thought that, and I had gone to conventions 20 years ago and kind of fell away from them. And I go to the convention and you see those cosplayers out there that look like professional actors, and the details. And I think you get sucked in because, you know, I've done Emperor Georgiou, I have various aliens now, and I have a group of friends, and we all say, okay, let's wear this here at this time. And it's become a lot of fun. But, you know, you can start simple, you can stay simple. There's couples cosplays, there's all kinds of fun things for everybody's desires.
But you were talking about the do-it-yourself. I had seen back in the early days when I was starting to build my uniform inventory. This is back before I actually had one, and I was kind of nervous on, okay, how am I going to proceed? Because I really didn't know anything on fan film stuff. So I was kind of, how am I going to do this? Because I have literally no budget. You know, I looked at the YouTube, and there's a lady who had to do it yourself, and she did TOS. You know, how to do the rank, how to do, she had a motion picture, uniform, how to do that, and it's one of those things where, watching her do it on YouTube, you felt like, okay, I can. This isn't. I mean, it wouldn't look as authentic as TOS, but like you said earlier, good enough. It's one of those things where, like, if somebody wanted to cosplay, you're right, it could be very easily intimidated. But when you're around people there, like at a convention, and you're checking out each other's uniforms, you get inspired to, oh, I see how you did that. Oh, now I'm gonna remember that. And it's kind of like when I used to visit the sets all the time, and I would see, okay, how did they build this part of the set? Okay, now I know how to build this. How did they do this? Okay, now I know how to do this. And that's one of those things where, when you're passionate about something, you pick up those things, and it just it makes it more and more fun to then go try it on your own, to succeed in, even if you fail, you're like, it didn't work out, but next time. going to get it next time. And
Absolutely.
that. It's once you get into it, you realize people don't nitpick as much because they know what you're trying to do and they're willing to help you out. Or at least they should. Who to avoid. If they don't.
Yeah, some people are nitpicky because they're nitpicky about everything in their life, and I can understand and appreciate it, and I just sort of let that go. I'm not in it to have all perfect details. I'm in it to have fun and to share my fun with my friends, and so
Yeah.
they're not nitpicky.
And it shows when you guys got together. I was like, oh man, these people are great. Like, because I mean, you guys were taking so many pictures. You were at the Borg alcove. You guys were just, it was like the Charlie Brown bunch, just running around, just doing different things. And I was like, oh, these. I mean, it was the definition of, convention. This people having fun, different, places and
Mhm.
ironically enough, different costumes. I'm like, what? They were just there 5 seconds ago. It was almost like transporter accident. You beam out, you beam back, and you're something else. It's like, what the hell happened? Like Star Trek is real. You know.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I think that there's a lot of people there that are enthusiastic just as much as we are, and like I said, there'll be a schedule. This costume at this hour, this costume at that hour, and we're actually having more fun running around doing the cosplay than we are even sitting in and watching a lot of the actors give their presentations.
mhm.
So we'll do whatever is kind of fun for any of us,
Oh, you
and the
guys are in your
cosplays are great.
you guys are in your element doing your thing. It's awesome to see. Firsthand. It's awesome. Because you see the pictures online and it really doesn't do seeing you guys in person justice. It's awesome. So Zam has a question for you. He says, Michelle, is there any other genres you make costumes for?
Yes, and some of them I don't make, but I make with a credit card. So just for clarification there. So it's interesting. There are a lot of costumes that I found a whole slew of Star Trek costumes at a Halloween place that was closing down, and they were like $5 a pop, and including a Klingon mask. But as far as other genres, I did pick up a original Batgirl costume who her character was played by I'm forgotten her name right now, but the same woman who was in Star Trek original series as a an Orion. It's the same gal, same actress. Just can't think of her name right now. Batgirl was an amazing cosplay. It changed my perspective on some of the superhero cosplays. I didn't want to do superhero, but she is actually not a superhero. She's just the commissioner's daughter. I had the costume put together, and then Adam West died, and they were going to show the light on the Justice Building or something downtown in LA, and I went down there in the Batgirl costume, and I had an absolute blast. Um, I've done some Star Trek, Star Wars crossovers. I have quite a few Star Wars as well, but but and then as a kid, I of course did Luke Skywalker's Tatooine costume. I remember doing Mork as a kid. I loved putting costumes together, and I always have. And I never connected all the dots until about 2013.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, what when you started going to the different conventions, you did you go on your own, or were you guys like how did you meet up with the group that you guys like? What started all of that going?
Yeah, that's interesting because that evolved over time. I went to some conventions in the 90s in California, and I think I went to two, and there were Klingons that were translating the Bible into Klingon. And it was a little too much for me, and I was young, and I was starting to work, and I had gotten married. I'm no longer married. But and
Hold on,
I left, no, go
keep talking. I'll be right back. My dog is banging at the door. Keep
ahead.
talking. I'll be right.
I'll talk. So I left conventions for about 20 years, and when the new Star Trek movies came out, the JJ movies in 2009, I ended up going to my first Las Vegas Star Trek convention in 2013, and that convention blew my mind. It was so professionally done. It was like a professional conference. The old ones that I had gone to 20 years prior were truly just like Galaxy Quest conventions, and I was just my jaw was dropping and everybody and their cosplays. And I had such a good time because I thought I'd go to this convention and not go to another convention for 20 years. But I have gone to that convention every year since, partly because of the camaraderie. I mean, we're like people, we're like fans. We are generally kind of a good and open and welcoming people. Everybody else likes cosplay, and so every year since then, I've somehow put together new costumes, lots of new cosplays, and then I remember it might have been my third year in where I got a message from somebody asking me to participate in a group cosplay, and would I put this? And I just thought, oh my gosh, I've made it, because now you see all these group cosplays. Um, and so we were invited, I was invited into that. I think that might have been, there was several of them now, but one of them was the Star Trek Star Wars crossover. I had a group that wanted to do a Section 31, so we all took some time assembling a Section 31 costume. I put together the Deep Space Nine desert outfit group because, where two or more are gathered, everybody wants photos, and it just changes the dynamics of it all. And so the group cosplay evolved. It was probably my third year in Vegas where somebody actually asked me to participate in the group cosplay, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've made it. It was really, so it's fun. It's just fun. And then, the Star Trek Las Vegas convention is not so much. It's like a family reunion now. You see people that you know and love and care for and that you have fun with, and we're all there. Oh, there's another cosplay I did that was not Star Trek. My friend and I were going to a convention in San Francisco, and Ponch and John were there. So we put together Chip's cosplay. So I was John, he was Ponch.
So you've kind of dipped your toe in several different types of genre.
Well, yes, and tomorrow I think I'm going to Rhode Island Comic Con. I made some arrangements around storing my motorcycle so I could do this, because tomorrow the Cobra Kai crew is going to be at the Rhode Island Comic Con, and
No,
I just put together that Charlie X karate costume, so I think I'm going
no.
to wear Charlie X karate costume and go get some photos with Cobra Kai. So how cool is that? Talk about crossing streams.
Oh my God, that is. I envy you. That is so cool. See, I
Well,
need to, I need to, I need to start following you more on your page. This
yeah.
is cool.
Well, I have to say something. I haven't been married for 20 years, although I will disclose here live that I now have a boyfriend, and that was a very serendipitous thing. And I have always felt like if I'm not at home taking care of a large family and kids, then I admire my friends and I stay with a lot of my friends that have kids to have that experience. But because I'm free to do these things, that I feel like it's almost like an obligation, right? I have friends that are committing to other things. So because I can do this, it's like I live vicariously through them. They live vicariously through me. Plus, I'm pretty outgoing and I like getting out and doing things. So, yes, I do a lot on my own. And it's just the nature of, I have friends, this is not really related to cosplay, that have gone through some kind of breakup and they stop doing things because they don't have anybody to do things with. And
Right.
I said no, it's not going to stop me, and if I have to do things alone, I'll do things alone. Motorcycling was one of those things. I don't look for a passenger on a motorcycle. I noticed somebody was missing my car, so I got a motorcycle. I noticed somebody was missing on my couch. I got single seated chairs. So, but I think now I need a couch.
Well, I'm very happy for you. I know when you and I had our lunch at Las Vegas, I was so happy to finally get to talk to you, and we sat down and had lunch, and it was a wonderful conversation. And uh, you're such a wonderful person. To see you glow when you told me, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that you'd found someone. I was like, oh, like my heart was all aflutter. I was like, that's so awesome, because I know that was something you and I had talked about, and I was like, that's so awesome, because
I met
you
him
are.
I met him at that convention.
Did
You
you?
know, you were there. I met him on Saturday. I don't remember what day you left, but we met on Saturday. We ended up talking until we didn't actually, we met. He gave me his number. And then I think around 10 o'clock at night, we met at the Gene Roddenberry function. and we talked until 2:30 in the morning. The next day he had to leave, but he called me for breakfast. We talked for another 3 hours and he left and went back to California. We've spent the last 2.5 months talking. So last week, actually, I was in California and it was our first time seeing each other since. And I think we just have fallen for each other. It's crazy.
That
But
is awesome.
yep, August 14th at the Star Trek Las Vegas, we met.
That is awesome. I am. Zam says he is very happy for you, Michelle, and yeah, I think it's everybody in the chat. We're all just there's like now a universal ah.
Yes, I
So
found my U bar, and hopefully he doesn't have to go on some strange away mission.
right, or he might end up the red shirt if he doesn't watch himself now. That's
Yeah.
right on.
Oh, I
So
see a reference to David Carradine Kung Fu. Yes, Grasshopper.
right on. So we have about 15 minutes left before the end of the show. So you have been a lifelong Star Trek fan, I assume?
Yes, I remember probably could be anywhere between first and third grade seeing The Last Battlefield and it really resonating with me.
Mhm.
Although I did step away for a while when I thought the conventions were wonky and too Galaxy Quest, but I think in my heart, yes, I've always been a Star Trek fan. I like what they stand for and represent and how I think they help us understand ourselves.
Mhm. And so modern Star Trek, are you as big a fan of modern Star Trek as you were more classic Star Trek, or well, I guess Next Gen DS9 Voyager is considered classic Trek now. Are you a fan of more modern Star Trek as you are classic Star Trek, or do you see it kind of
So,
a shift change?
look, when in my early 20s was when Next Generation was out. Of course, I absolutely loved it, and I'd originally loved Star Trek. But did I dislike um, Deep Space Nine? Well, it was different, but I kind of liked some of the storylines, and I liked that they lived on a base, and I grew up as a military brat. Did not like Voyager, and could not stand Enterprise. Well, after going to the 2013 convention, I decided to watch everything over again. And some of this is just as we get older. There's a generational lineup with Star Trek. When you're in your formative years, and that can be anywhere from your teens to your early 20s, is what I'm calling formative years. If that was on the air, it is probably what you gravitated to. So I noticed that different age groups are fans of the different series because it became a part of that formative time in their life. They could watch these shows, and it reflects the personalities and the business structure and order of the times. You look at Kirk and he was this demanding boss and, he took over everything, very old school management style. You watch Next Generation and suddenly it's a little bit more collaborative. And I think they reflect the management style and or kind of the social thinking and behaviors at the time. I mean, I think Discovery looks like a lot of millennials, sorry if there are millennials complaining, right? Um, so then when I went back and watched, I actually fell in love with Enterprise. I think Enterprise may be one of my favorites. I can appreciate parts of Janeway, still not my favorite. Fell more in love with uh, Deep Space Nine. So with a new series, I have to recognize, Abe Simpson, right? He's mad at everything because it's changed. So I have to realize when I feel that response in myself that I kind of need to see through the younger generation's eyes. And that's kind of what we're doing when we watch other shows that might ring the wrong way with us, like Discovery, Lower Decks. I am enjoying all of it. And frankly, I feel like we are having a Star Trek renaissance because this hasn't happened since The Next Generation, where there were 2 or 3 series airing at the same time. And then we just got Prodigy. So right now, we're sort of having this new renaissance of Star Trek, and I'm just going to ride it out, and have fun, and appreciate that it is going to be different. I'm different than I was 30 years ago, and it speaks to a generation that may be different than mine now. They're certainly not targeting the 50-year-olds. TV targets the young and the beautiful and the restless.
Well, that's the thing. Like I've tried to watch Prodigy, um, and I've passed out every time because it's when I get off work and then I turn it on when I get home. and Royce has watched it, and he's enjoyed it. I don't think he understands it as Star Trek. I mean, he's seen the ship fly across screen. He's like, "Oh, that's Daddy's ship." I'm like, "Oh, that's not my ship. That's because every time he sees a Star Trek ship, it's always Daddy's ship." Um,
But you
but
have to
he,
understand the point of it, right? It's like the
yeah,
Clone Wars. All the
yeah,
Star Trek fans have their kids watch the Clone Wars, and that's how they get brought into it. And
exactly.
they're working on bringing a younger generation into
Yep.
it in a way that attracts them.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, because I remember with Royce, we still from time to time we'll grab his Klingon ship, the Playmates Klingon ship, and he'll press the button and chase me, with the Enterprise and everything, and we'll fire torpedoes, and that's how we play tag, and he's seen some of my movies, and he knows, like he when he saw the Constar crash for the first time, he was like, and then for the longest time, his cars would fall off the cliff, of the couch, and he would pretend that it was the starship, falling because that's what he saw. It was impactful to him. And he loves in yesterday's Enterprise the Klingon ship battle with the Enterprise D. He loves that battle, but to me, he knows the universe of Star Trek, but he doesn't grasp it. So to me, it's seeing him watch Prodigy. It's one of those things of this is good. It's got enough Star Trek, but it's gravitated more toward him. And the one thing that I've found about modern Star Trek is everyone feels like well, that's not Star Trek, just because they don't necessarily enjoy every aspect of it. But my mentality is not everything is meant for me, and that's okay. I don't understand why everyone feels like everything has to be made for them. Because like you said, first you didn't like Voyager, didn't like Enterprise, and now you watch them, you're like, not so bad. That's the way I felt about Enterprise. I hated it first. Now it's actually, I think the third season of Enterprise is one of my favorite seasons of just Trek in general. It's the
Yeah,
Zen.
it surprised me, and then I realized just how stuck we get in our own ways and how we choose not to see things. This is what shuts people down. And when and I think, wow, look at what I missed out on because I was just too stubborn to like Enterprise because it was different. And
Yeah,
then, years later, and it's so enjoyable that we need to recognizing that things we get
I, I think we're kind of losing you there. Oh, there we got you back. What was the last thing you said? Can you repeat that? I couldn't quite grasp that.
I think I think I was just saying that it's a shame that we miss things. Like I missed Enterprise during its first run because we just have a tendency to get old and grouchy and not like change, right?
Yes, yes.
I'm the old man. I'm Abe Simpson complaining and yelling at the clouds.
Get off my lawn. Yeah, yeah. So Steve Atwell asks, have you asked her about her appearance on Let's Make a Deal? So you were on Let's Make a Deal?
Do you not know that?
I think you told me in Vegas. I vaguely remember you saying something about Let's Make a Deal. It's I why don't you tell our audience and refresh my memory?
Sure. Well, I think it was the 50th anniversary convention or the one before it where they announced in Vegas that they were doing a 50th anniversary. I think it was actually 1 year late, 50th anniversary
Mhm.
celebration of Star Trek. And I'm a nerd, so I immediately got a ticket. They were free, you just signed up online.
Mhm.
And I spent some time studying how to get on Let's Make a Deal. And what I learned was, and I'm, I can put two and two together, right? It's CBS, the new Discovery series is out or coming out. And I realized, okay, I need to wear a Discovery costume. And then I thought, well, I don't want it to look boring like every other Discovery costume. And hey, I haven't seen any Anars on Discovery. So I'm going to do an Anar, which is the Subterranean Andorians that are white with the white antenna. And then I found some website that had tips on how to get onto Let's Make a Deal. Turns out all the windows are like mirrors and they're observing you. they're observing your character, how you move around, how you interact with other people. So the whole thing, you're being watched, you're being interviewed in groups on the way in. So I just tried to be as, in a way, much like me, anyways, because I'm always kind of outgoing and chatty and smiley and stuff. So so they brought me in, and it was weird. They seated me off in the corner, and I thought, oh, I guess I'm not going to be on the show because all of my friends were up close. But I realized what they do is they want the background actors that are immediately seen on the camera to be pretty vibrant, and then the people that are actually called onto the show are usually from the back because they show you running in from the back and then down the stairs. And so they did call my name, and it was absolutely amazing. And if you watch that episode, you will hear me screaming in a high pitched tone like a little kindergarten girl when I was called down. There are parts of it that didn't make it on the show. So many people had patted me on the back as I was running down. It pulled my hair back. And so when I got down to see Wayne Brady, he's like, "Oh girl, you got something going on with your weave." And I'm trying to pull my hair back up. But the most fascinating part for me was they announced whatever the prize was, but they needed somebody to read it in Klingon. And Mary Chiefo comes down and she's standing next to me reading my potential prize to me in Klingon. And I'm just going, I don't have to win anything. I am live on camera with Mary Chiefo having a conversation with me.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, you can find the episode. I don't remember the episode number, but the episode can be found. It might be on YouTube again. I think during the CBS Paramount switch for a while it was pulled back, but I think you can still get it if you have Paramount and find the old episode. But it was a blast. It was a blast. And the odd thing was it aired on February 4th of 2019, which is the day I started my job in Massachusetts. And one of my colleagues was a game show addict, and she reached out to me and she outed me to the rest of the company that I was on Let's Make a Deal as a crazy Andorian.
So what a way to start your day, huh?
Exactly.
Right on. Well, that's awesome. Well, we have about 4 minutes left. Well, about 3 minutes left before the end of the show because I know you've got to get to work. You took time out. For those of you that don't know at home, she took time out of her work schedule to come be with us today. So not only does she cosplay and stars in fan films for me, she took time out of her work to come be with us today. Is there anything that you have that you want to, any words of wisdom that you want to part on us for anyone that wants to cosplay? Because obviously you've dabbled in a little bit of everything in every spectrum of genre. Is there anything that you want to tell us or tell anyone that wants to kind of get into that world? Because you kind of have a lot of knowledge in that.
Well, you know what? I'm just still channeling my inner 12-year-old, so that's a big part of it. So first, let me thank you for inviting me to be on the show and for giving me opportunities to be in your films. It has changed me, and it's an outlet for me, so I really enjoy that. So thank you very much for that. As far as the cosplay goes, again, it's just my inner child coming out, and I have found it to be fun, and I encourage anybody to find whatever it is they do that makes them feel like a child again and that they're passionate about, to just pursue it. And as long as this continues to make me happy, I'm going to continue to participate in it. And sometimes our lives change. Like I mentioned before, I'd gone to some conventions, then I fell away, and maybe you fall into some other type of activity. But life's a one-time deal, as far as I know, at least in this plane of existence. Maybe there are parallel universes out there, but do what makes you feel good. And I like that about you too. You take time for your family. I am so proud of you. Since I don't have kids, I love living vicariously through you raising your children and being such a good father and a good husband.
I appreciate, that was one of the, when you and I had the our lunch in Vegas, I love showing off the pictures of Royce and our conversation about me being a dad. I love just talking about that because it's one of the highlights. Like I never thought I'd get to actually be a dad, and I've wanted to be one since I was 18. Because I know what I wanted growing up, and I wanted to be better than what I had. And it's just such a joy, and to get to share that with people. And I love that. So it's a pleasure to have you in my films. It's a pleasure to be your friend and to know you. And I tell you, next time you are in this area, lunch is on me. So
There
I
we
hope
go.
you like Burger King, because only the best for my friends. so,
Oh, that's
so
fine. I haven't met a food I don't like.
there you go. Dude, I did not get fat off of not eating, so I understand that all too well. So with that being said, I know we have to go because you got to get back to work. So I want to thank everybody in the chat for joining us, and anyone watching on the rewind. Thank you for joining us. And to remind everybody, in the very top link we have of the live chat, we do have the NerdTube link. Please go join over to their channel. I think when we started this, we were at 14. We needed 14 subscribers to hit 1,000. I think by the end of the day, we can hit that goal. It's what I'm trying to. Let's help them go hit their goal. They're good people. Let's help them hit that. And if you guys, I think the important lesson we can learn from Michelle is do what makes you happy, and screw what the naysayers say. Just go have fun, enjoy your life, and good things will come. At least that's what I've learned from her. I know my life is better for having known her, and I look forward to seeing what you have coming up. So, with that being said, everybody in the chat, be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.
Thank you.